Do you remember that show, that 70s show? Well, you probably know that one of the lead actors is in big trouble now. The story starts with a woman named Chrissy. Chrissy's 18. She just moved away from home to pursue a career in Hollywood. Chrissy was excited and nervous. She had dreams of becoming an actress, and she was ready to take on the world. She had a few small roles, but nothing big yet. One night she went to a party to meet new people. That's where she met Danny. He was charming, funny, and a few years older than her. He had been acting in Hollywood for a long time, and Chrissy thought he was really cool. They hit it off and started dating. Just 2 weeks later, Danny invited Chrissy to live with him. She was thrilled. Moving in with someone who seemed to know the ropes of Hollywood felt like a big step forward. She didn't know many people in the city, so having Danny around made her feel safe and supported. But soon, things took a strange turn. Danny told Chrissy that if they were going to be together, she had to join his religion, Scientology. At first, Chrissy was confused. She didn't know much about it, but she wanted to make Danny happy. So she started going to the church with him. She signed some paperwork and began taking courses. Before she knew it, she was fully involved in the church, and it started to take over her life. The church told her how to live, how to act, and even who she could talk to. They insisted she cut off contact with her friends and family because they weren't members. Chrissy felt trapped, but thought it was normal because she was in love with Danny. She wanted to believe that everything was okay. As time went on, Danny became more famous. His show, That 70s Show, became a huge hit. He was surrounded by celebrities and became one of the top members of Scientology. But with fame came a change in Danny. He started to act differently, more controlling and aggressive. Chrissy noticed it, but tried to ignore it. She loved him and wanted to believe he was still the same guy she fell for. Then, in 2001, everything changed. Chrissy was 23, and one night, she and Danny were at home having a glass of wine. Suddenly, she felt dizzy and blacked out. When she woke up the next morning, she felt terrible. Her body hurt, and she was bleeding. Confused and scared, she went downstairs to find Danny. When she asked him what happened, he laughed and said, "Oh, I had intercourse with you last night." Chrissy was shocked. "Was I unconscious?" she asked. Danny just laughed again and said, "Yeah." Chrissy felt her heart drop. She couldn't believe what he was saying. She felt violated and betrayed by the person she trusted the most. Angry and hurt, Chrissy decided to report Danny. She went to the ethics department of Scientology, thinking they would help her. But instead, the officer told her it couldn't be sexual assault because Danny was her boyfriend. They even suggested that it was her fault and that she must have done something to deserve it. Chrissy was devastated. She thought the church would support her, but instead, they blamed her. The officer also threatened her, saying that if she went to the police, she would become an enemy of the church. Chrissy was terrified. She knew that Scientology had a reputation for being ruthless. She felt trapped and decided not to report Danny. Instead, she bottled up her feelings and tried to move on. Years passed, and in 2009, Chrissy met someone new. His name was Cedric, and he was the lead singer of two popular bands, At the Drive-In and the Mars Volta. Cedric was kind and supportive, and they quickly fell in love. One day, while they were talking, Chrissy opened up about her past and the trauma she had experienced with Danny. "I know what happened is my fault," she said, still blaming herself. But Cedric reacted strongly. "No, it's not. That's called sexual assault," he told her. For the first time, Chrissy felt validated. Cedric believed her and reassured her that what happened was wrong and illegal. His support gave her the courage to finally go to the police and report Danny. Chrissy also started speaking out on social media, sharing her story and calling out both Danny and Scientology. By this time, she had left the church, but she knew there would be consequences for speaking out. After she went public, 2 more women came forward with similar stories about Danny. They said he had drugged them and assaulted them too. The details were horrifying, and Chrissy felt a mix of relief and anger that she wasn't alone anymore. With multiple allegations against him, the police began investigating Danny. He was arrested, and Chrissy felt a glimmer of hope that justice would finally be served. But things took a dark turn. Because Chrissy reported Danny, she was now considered an enemy of Scientology. The church didn't take kindly to people who spoke out against them. Suddenly, Chrissy's life became a nightmare. She noticed strange cars parked outside her home and people loitering around. They would stare into her windows, making her feel unsafe. She and Cedric received threatening messages on social media, warning them that someone would come to take their children away. It was terrifying. Feeling like they were being watched, Chrissy and Cedric decided to move from California to Texas, hoping to escape the harassment. But even in Texas, the strange occurrences continued. One day, Chrissy saw 2 men looking over her fence. One of them said, "Nice dogs." Soon after, one of her dogs became sick and died. They discovered that someone had poisoned it with rat poison hidden in raw meat. It was heartbreaking. Despite the fear and the threats, Danny went to trial for his crimes. He faced multiple charges, and Chrissy hoped for justice. After 2 trials, he was found guilty of 2 of the 3 charges against him. The judge sentenced him to 30 years to life in prison. Chrissy felt a sense of relief, but she knew the battle wasn't over. Even with Danny behind bars, the church continued to make her life difficult. They didn't want her to speak out, and they were determined to silence her. Chrissy and Cedric had to stay vigilant, always looking over their shoulders. They had fought hard for justice, but the fear of Scientology's reach loomed over them. In the end, Chrissy's story is one of resilience. She went from being a young woman chasing her dreams in Hollywood to a survivor who stood up against abuse and manipulation. She found her voice and the strength to fight back, not just for herself, but for others who had suffered in silence. Her journey was far from easy, but she proved that even in the darkest times, there is hope for justice and healing. And while the battle against the church and the scars of her past remain, Chrissy continues to share her story, inspiring others to speak out and seek help. She reminds us all that no one should ever feel alone in their struggles, and that it's never too late to stand up for what is right.